Good afternoon, Margaret. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so it's the top of the hour here in beautiful Omaha, Nebraska, 2 p.m. Central Time. It is December 12th. I am ready for this Tuesday talk with Margaret. If you have joined us on these Tuesday talks before, you know the drill. A couple of housekeeping items first. If you're joining this call live, we do like questions and interaction from our listeners. So depending on how your Zoom screen is set up, you can either click on hover at the top or bottom of your Zoom screen. There's a Q&A button. When you click on that, you can type in a question. And Margaret, you don't need to watch the question box. I've got it open over here so I can keep an eye on it. As you and I are visiting over the course of the next half hour, as questions come in, I will make sure to ask them so you can answer them live on the call. Okay, does that sound like a plan?
Sounds great.
Okay, and hey, by the way, there's a little anonymous box. So if you don't want people to know your name, you can click that box and the question is anonymous. But don't be afraid to type in a question. We love audience interaction. Okay, so my name is Jen Chaney. I'm the Vice President of Franchise Development. Joining me today is Margaret Haynes. She is the President and CEO of Right at Home. And we are just going to talk a little bit about Right at Home today. No specific agenda, Margaret. That's one thing I do like about our Tuesday talks. There's no specific topic. You know, we just kind of go all over the place. But I do like to start with just a general kind of state of the union from you, our CEO, just kind of to tell our listeners, here we are. Oh my goodness, is this the last Tuesday talk that we are going to have? I believe so. Until 2024. So you and I, the next time we meet on this Tuesday talk, it's going to be a new year. So this is the final Tuesday talk for 2023. So really just kind of a summary of the things that happened over the course of the last 12 months. If you can kind of wrap that all into like a 2-minute summary, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so thank you for that. That makes me kind of think about wrapping a whole year into a couple minutes. And I can assure our listeners that are maybe watching this today or watching it as a recording, I'm not living in a tunnel. And my apology that I normally I'm in the office. It looks more normal like you are, Jen. So my apologies, but I had to run home for an appointment that I wasn't expecting. And I didn't want to miss this. So hopefully it's not too distracting that I look like I'm in a tunnel. But
nope, you're fine.
You're fine. Let me talk about Right at Home. And my gosh, I could talk for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours about what a great year 2023 is turning out to be for our brand. And from a lots of different perspectives. So from a pure just numbers perspective, we've seen an increase we always look at what are the number of hours per week across the brand that we're doing. And that continues to grow very nicely week over week and year over year. So we're really at a good clip in terms of how our hours have grown year over year. Just for one example, when we think about the last week that we looked at was the Thanksgiving week, and typically a holiday week will be a down week in hours for the network because family is home. They're there to take care of their loved one, and so they may not need some services as many hours as what they would do in a typical week when they're not home. But when I look at that Thanksgiving week that we just had a couple of weeks ago versus a year ago, we were 14% higher in hours than we were a year ago. And so all of that are really good trends in terms of what we're seeing. And across the network right now, we provide in the US alone about 430,000 hours of care a week. So that's a lot of lives that are being touched in a really positive way. And that's just the hours of taking care of a client. That doesn't include the family members that you bring peace of mind to, and the caregivers that you employ, and the staff members in the local offices that get employed by the local franchisee. So it's really an amazing business to be in, and then to see all of the positive metrics that are happening. Equal to that, so we're seeing, good bill rates, good pay rates for the caregivers. And then in terms of footprint expansion, so we are constantly looking to expand the brand, be able to bring the Right at Home mission to life in more communities. And we had a goal this year To add 24 new flags. We call them flags, but that's basically opening 24 new territories. And we're at 23 right now, and I'm just waiting for you to give me the green light that we're at 24, and I know we're going to be there before the end of this year. So when we talk in 2024, we're going to be celebrating the fact that it's just a huge compliment to you and your team, but to the entire network itself, right? Because we don't get the honor of bringing new people into the brand if our franchise owners that are a part of the brand today aren't excited and happy and building strong, sustainable, profitable businesses. And that's what we focus on every day from a corporate team perspective, is how can we help our franchise owners build sustainable, profitable businesses. So when I look across the board at 2023, great year for right at home. All the metrics are moving in the right directions that they should be. But as well as, we're just on the cusp of what is a boom of a need for our services. So we're just getting started in terms of the amount of lives that we can touch. And that too really excites me for what lies ahead for us in 2024 and for many, 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 many years beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it's like this person was reading my mind because I wrote down this question to ask you, but somebody has typed it in here. And the question says, what do you attribute to the 14% increase in hours?
Yeah, so I think it's a couple things. In this year over last year, obviously we've added more franchisees to the network. So as the network grows, we would see hours increase because you have more individuals operating in different local communities. So we had a good year in 2022 as well. Not as good as 2023, but I don't remember, Jen, exactly how many we sold. I think it was 17, maybe 17 or 18. Is that right?
It was 18.
18. Yeah. Okay. It's a great year because that year our goal was 15. So we're still coming out of, I don't even want to say the word pandemic, but I just said it. But, we're still coming out of that as a network. But as we have more owners in the system, that means that we have the opportunity to service more. So I think that's one reason. We also see our individual units. So the individual franchise owners, those that have been here not just a year versus those that have been in here 20 years, 25 years, we see their businesses all upticking. And so I think that's a culmination of why we're seeing an increase in hours, because everyone is moving in an upward trend in terms of the hours that they're providing. And this year too, one of the key metrics I didn't talk about, but that is increasing, is the number of caregivers, right? So we know that ultimately at the end of the day, as a business owner, you got to have the caregivers. That's your product that you're putting into the local community to help take care of those seniors. So we know that you have to be that employer of choice in your local market. And we put a lot of focus on that in 2023 around how do we help our offices, think about the culture that they're creating. How do we help them use the different tools out there to drive leads in from a caregiver perspective, individuals that would want to work as a caregiver, and then what tools can they use to train them well and help them be successful in their role. And all of those metrics are increasing as well. So I think it's a combination of those, because you have to have enough caregivers as well as clients. And then we know the clients is the sheer volume that's yet to come. We're just on the cusp of all the baby boomers that are going to need our support. And it's really that constantly trying to get enough caregivers to support that demand is something that we're always talking about with our franchise owners.
Yep. Okay. So a question did come in, and whoever typed this question, I do believe that Margaret answered this question for you, but the question is, I think they're just looking for clarity on what 14% specifically increase are you referring to? It says, was there a 14% increase in franchises or 14% increase more clients per franchise?
Yeah. So no, actually the 14% I was referring to was the number of service hours in a week. So if I look at the week of Thanksgiving a year ago to this year's same week Thanksgiving, we did 14% more hours in that week than we did a year ago. And that's great growth. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Got it. Thank you for that. Okay. So I am going to shift gears just a little bit, because this is a question that has come up recently with some candidates that we have been working with. as well as a discussion that we have as a leadership team quite often, and that is we're constantly assessing the competition. You know, when right at home services, or somebody needs services and they go to right at home, we know that they have other options. They've got other senior care providers that they can reach out to. So a question that we get asked often is, why do we stand out more than others? And why would we choose right at home to provide, to be our service provider versus over our competitors? That's from just a client needing services standpoint. But the same goes for people who are interested in joining the right at home system. We have people who are looking at other franchise concepts, senior care franchise concepts. So maybe just talk a little bit about the competition from a standpoint of, and my go-to answer is I can talk a lot about right at home and what we do and what we stand for and what our mission is. I really can't speak for what other franchisors are doing and their mission and why you would choose us over them. Well, all I could say is this is what we stand for, and this is what I believe makes us stand out, and why you should choose us. But would just love to hear you talk a little bit about that and why choose right at home over other senior care concepts that they are exploring at the same time that they're exploring right at home.
Yeah, so I think your point is well taken in the sense that if you were to break it down to its core elements, what a right at home does in providing home care is the function itself, the core elements, the services are very similar to what the next concept would be that's in the home care space. So our competitors look a lot like us, just like in any market that has multiple competitors. So I can go get a hamburger at multiple places, but I choose to go to a certain place because of the experience, right? And so when I think about being in a service industry and really what sets right at home apart in the home care space, in the senior care space, and where we operate in our industry, it's all around the experience. It's all around the relationships that we build, the relationships that we have with our franchise owners and that they have with each other. The culture that we create really sets right at home apart, because there's basic business fundamentals that you could do under indie brand. Yep. But it's that additional element of what really we've honed in best practices that creates an experience for that client, for what could be that for the caregiver that the local owner would employ, and then how we want the experience to be as part of the right at home brand with us as the franchisor. Those are all really important elements that we think a lot about. And I talked about, we help our owners build sustainable, profitable businesses.
Yep.
As a franchisor, some franchisors, they really aren't necessarily all that concerned about a franchisee's bottom line, right? They're just concerned about getting the footprint out there, go, do what you need to do. But we really think, and it shows through the programs that we have, that we really think a lot about the bottom line, less more about the top line, even though that's essentially where the franchisor gets its revenue is from the top line.
Yep. But
we know that to have successful owners and to have engaged owners and owners that this is really bringing them value. And why would you go into business if you didn't want to build a successful business? They need to have a healthy bottom line, because if there is no healthy bottom line, there is going to be no business. And so I think that's just one element of ultimately the experience that we want anyone associated with the right at home brand to have. Mm-hmm. We think about those micro experiences and want them to be top notch, because that's what really differentiates us is the experience.
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Great answer. And out of curiosity, which hamburger place would you choose, Margaret?
Oh my gosh. So I have a couple.
Put you on the spot.
It's easy for me to say which ones I wouldn't choose. And I don't necessarily want to offend anybody, but the real fast foodie ones I'm not into.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Palace has a really good, but that's not a chain. So I
Yep. Just out of curiosity. Okay. So Yep. All right. So I'm gonna shift gears again because this is another FAQ that has come up with a few people that we've been visiting with over the course of the past few weeks, and it pertains to marketing. Now, I know you are not the chief marketing officer, but you know a thing or two about marketing and kind of how it works in the right at home business. But maybe just generally describe, because we have a lot of people who join the right at home system. Like if I became a right at home franchise owner, I'd be like, I have no experience in, marketing my business. So how does right at home guide our franchise owner on just a general marketing journey? Maybe mention like how the brand fund works, because people are like, wait a second. So I contribute to this brand fund, so a portion of it goes to national marketing, but what portion like comes to me? Just a general understanding of how the marketing process works, because it's an FAQ that we've been getting a little bit lately, and would just love to have you comment on that.
Yeah, happy to. So, as most business owners would know and think about, marketing is really important. But we recognize that most of our franchise owners, they come in with a wealth of experience, but it's typically not a wealth of experience across all elements of business ownership. I mean, it's just, you may have honed in on the finance side, or maybe on the operations side, or maybe it was marketing. But so that's where, as the franchisor, we try to bring alongside our franchise owners and supplement those areas that maybe aren't ones that they come from a background already, because we know that you can bring a lot of value there. So on the marketing side, so yes, we have a brand fund, national advertising fund that all franchisees contribute to. We have a strategic leadership council. I was going to say the brand fund advisory council, but we changed their name a couple of years ago, and I just have to keep my brain to not remember the old name. But so we have this council that's made up of franchise owners that help work side by side with our chief marketing officer and her team to determine how we take those funds that are gathered in the brand fund each year, and how do we use them nationally to go out there and have each dollar work as hard as it can for the overall brand. And what the brand fund is focused on is driving brand awareness across all consumers, that are in our sweet spot, as well as local leads into the office. And so we have lots of tracking that we do to help with that. The value of the brand fund to a franchisee is to be able to buy TV on your own is very, very expensive. So being able to contribute in, and we pool those dollars and they go back out to work for the franchisees, that allows us to do national advertising. It allows us to do pay-per-click kinds of advertising that drives leads. And so we monitor those metrics alongside the franchise owners to make sure that the programs that we're executing on are producing the return that would be expected. Because at the end of the day, we want every dollar to work as hard as it can for the franchisee. And then the franchisee also has an element of local marketing that they're doing, boots on the ground types of things that they're doing to make connections in their marketing community. They're making leads. And we also have resources here at the corporate staff that help with the social media side of things, because that too can sometimes be overwhelming. So each of our franchise owners has a contact in the corporate office that's a marketing specialist, an online marketing specialist that can help us bring what they're doing locally to life in the social media world. And that too is really important. So much support that we provide, but we also have that strategic leadership council made up of franchise owners that help ensure that we're making the impacts that we're wanting to make are the ones that we're seeing. And at the end of the day, again, because we want that bottom line to be healthy. So we want to drive good leads, those sorts of things. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, it does. That was perfect. And there was another question here, and I'm almost 100% you will not be able to answer it. I don't think that I can either. I'm just going to read it exactly as it is. Sure. It says, what is the amount for the National Marketing Fund? What was it in 2022, and what was it here in 2023?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. I want to say that we had around 7 million in 2022, and in 2023, I think it was 8.2. And then, and the reason it's growing is simply because, again, we're adding more franchises into the network.
Yep.
And then the way our ad fund works is as your business grows, it's 2% on the first 1 million, and then 1% on the next 2 million, caps at 40,000. So as more offices grow, some of them will cap out at the 40, and it's a whole math exercise.
Yep.
But we have a healthy brand fund amount. We certainly don't have the largest brand funds out there, but that's because we don't structure ours the same way as some other networks do.
Yep. I should have had more faith in you, Margaret. You knew that off the top of your head. My memory, I was just like, I know that number. I don't remember it. But you were like, yeah, here's what it was.
I think it's directionally right. It's directional.
Okay. Got it. Thank you for that. And this is a piggyback question. I'd also like to hear more about social media and the role the right at home corporate office plays with social media versus what the franchisee is responsible for.
Yeah, so certainly when a new franchise owner comes into the network, we immediately get them kind of connected with their social media experts, or their OMS, online marketing specialists is what we call them.
Yep.
And then they are there to really help them. So we will give them a base website that's set up, for them to start their business. And when they come for training in Omaha for that week, we're doing video recordings of the owner to talk about their why, because that's so important to have on your website so that people can really make that personal connection. Because at the end of the day, our business is all about relationships. But so we have a team that's focused on helping make sure your website is working for you. We certainly need good relationship, good connection between you, the owner, or your designee in your office, and that online marketing specialist to let us know when you're going and doing a social event. Maybe you're going into an assisted living facility. This time of year, there's so many great things that are happening that local franchisees are doing in their communities, and we can bring that to life for you on your not only on your website, but then helping you with your social media, so your Facebooks and your TikToks and all that other those different elements out there. But we are very engaged. Some owners are more comfortable with social media, and so they'll say, hey, I'm going to handle some of this stuff. Others are like, I really need a lot of assistance. And we like to mesh to what are the needs of that particular owner. At the end of the day, to make sure you have a well-rounded presence from a social media and online perspective, because that's where a lot of the consumers are looking today. That's where the adult children are searching for services today. Whereas, 20 some years ago, that was not the case. So we want to make sure we're staying current on what are the new ways in which people are searching to find the services.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for that. Shifting gears again and topics. I'm going to read this question exactly how it's written. It says, do the franchise owners train their caregivers, or does corporate provide training for those caregivers?
Yeah, great question. So the local offices will train their caregivers. Now, what we do is when a new franchisee is coming into the system and they go through our training, we teach them how to train their caregivers in terms of not what are the key kind of topics that they should make sure that they're touching on. And in some cases, it might be dictated by the state that you're in and based on state licensure. So some states with licensure, they may dictate how many hours of training a particular caregiver must have before they can start providing services. So we'll make sure that as a franchise owner, you're aware of that. But then the actual training and online tools that are available to do that come from a third party that we pay for you to have some access to. And that way you can leverage the different online trainings that may be around, hand washing and, disease mitigation, different things that would be important for a caregiver to understand. But we'll help you think through what that orientation might look like. But at the end of the day, you as the owner, those are your employees. Those are your team members. And so you will provide the education to them and set the culture and the tone in which you want to have with your workforce.
Okay. Got it. Thank
Yeah.
you. There's no more questions, but I've written down a couple of questions myself. We've got just
Yep.
a little over 5 minutes left.
Oh, wow.
I know time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
So now that we're at the end of 2023, and I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and you're like, here we go, Jen, doing this to me again. Okay, so if you had to choose just one thing, so looking back on 2023, what would you say was your biggest aha moment from 2023? As I have had a front row seat to all the things that we're doing to plan ahead for 2024 and the years to come, 3-year, 5-year plans, looking ahead at the future. What were some of the key things that you learned from 2023 as it pertains to Right at Home that really did kind of craft your, the bigger picture for 2024 and the years to come? Was there any key moments from this year that you look back on, they're like, that was an aha moment or a big learning from this year?
Yeah. So this may not be necessarily a big, well, I guess it would be a big learning, but one thing that comes to mind, I could think of a lot of things, is, every year when we go into strategic planning, and we do that in the summer months, we kind of look to say, okay, where are we halfway through the year for the year itself? But then,
Yep.
is there anything that has happened since the last kind of where we stopped for strategic planning, and that would have been a year ago, that's changed in the industry or changed in the market that we need to make sure we have our eye on? And when I think about 2023, and we got to that point this summer of looking at what was going on, it has to be AI. That artificial intelligence was just a boom, right? With Chat GPT and everybody talking about it. And so we recognize that while we're in home care, senior care, I think it'll be years before AI is having a huge impact, although I might be surprised in terms of how care is being provided in the home. It is something that we recognize that it's here to stay.
Yeah.
And so just like, Zoom wasn't as big of a deal, prior to the pandemic. And now I can't imagine a regular phone call. It just seems kind of odd. I think that's the same thing with AI. It is here to stay, and it's going to change our lives in different ways. But it's going to also, I think the first place it's going to change is operationally, and how us as business owners can use it to be more efficient in some of the routine things that we need to do. And using AI, for example, with caregiver and client matching. There's some of that already happens today in the software, but it's only going to get better with the advancement that's happening in technology. So technology in general, and then AI. And because of that, we have built into our 24 plan to bring someone onto the staff here at the corporate team that all they think about is what's going on with AI and what does that mean in the healthcare space, and specifically how it's going to impact home care.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Nice job.
Good,
Put you on the spot. Great answer. Okay, so this is a fantastic question. There's one question that just came up. We have just a few minutes left.
Okay.
And it says, my husband and I are looking at Right at Home as our next business venture. We'd like to know the performance requirement for the franchise owner each year. What is it, and does this go up each year? I know it's very specific. You can answer that, I think, pretty generally.
Yeah, I was going to say that one, I won't have the numbers all in my head. I can picture the chart. But so, yes, there is a performance expectation that's clearly outlined in the FDD that hopefully if you're looking and you've already kind of seen the FDD, or if not, reach out to the development team and they're happy to give you that and walk you through it. But yes, there are growth expectations. Now, our expectations, they start out, I want to say it starts after the first 24 months for a brand new territory. It might be 18 to 24 months is when kind of what we call it as a minimum in there. And that really is just, it's like a little speed bump, right? So that is super easy to hit. But the reason we have minimums built into the franchise agreement is, we're both making a commitment to each other, right? And honestly, if you're going to operate just at minimums, you're not going to have a sustainable, profitable business anyway. So we're not there to be heavy-handed, but at the same time, we want to make sure that once someone purchases a territory, we're really passionate about getting our mission out there, and we want to improve the quality of life for those that we serve. That can't happen if someone's not working the business. That can't happen if you're not out there actually starting to help take care of seniors and helping them age gracefully wherever they call home. So that's why we have them in there. So yes, there are expectations. The fun things is that we have like performance groups that franchisees can get involved with. And that's kind of a whole different ball game, but something that our top performing offices are all in performance groups. And that means that they have a peer group that they serve as like a board of directors to each other. And they're really pushing each other and keeping that entrepreneurial spirit and that drive alive to grow, because you have an opportunity to build a wonderful business, but it takes blood, sweat, and tears, right? It takes time to get it built, and we're here to help you along the way. So yes, that's kind of a long answer, but yes, we do have some performance requirements.
Yep. And whoever typed that question, I can provide more details. So the minimums kick in on month 13. So we give you an entire year to just get the business established starting on month 13. That chart is included in item 12, page 40 of the FDD. So if you're working with a development director, either Jess or Jenna, when you do your FDD review phone call, you can certainly cover that chart in more detail when you do your FDD review. But nice work, Margaret. All of that top of head, almost spot on. But anyway, thank you so much for that. It's 2:30. Do you have any final parting thoughts for our listeners as we head into a new year?
Yeah, so I just thank you to the listeners, anybody that's, dialed in or listens to this after the fact, for your interest in the Right at Home brand. Obviously, I'm very biased, but I do think that Right at Home is the #1 brand out there in terms of just how we support our franchise owners, and ultimately then how our franchise owners support their local communities. But I just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season, and we are super excited about 2024 and the years to come. This brand is on a growth trajectory, and we're really excited to touch more lives in a really meaningful way.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much, Margaret, for taking the time to do this. I appreciate you doing these calls. I know our listeners do as well. So thanks again.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have a great day. Bye, you guys.
Bye-bye.